are going to see the anterior pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary gland releases 6 hormones. We have FSH and LH, TSH, growth hormone. This is thyrotropin hormone. This is follicle stimulating hormone, and this is luteinizing hormone. Growth hormone, TSH, prolactin, and ACTH. There are 3 kinds of cells in the anterior pituitary. These are acidophils cells, basophilic cells, and chromophores. The chromophores do not contain any granule, at least not at the beginning, because this stains orange and this purple. These have no color until they release some secretory granules, in which case will become acidophils or basophils. The acidophils contain the growth hormone and prolactin, and basophils FSH, LH, TSH, and LH, FSH, and ACTH. Alright, now the glycoproteins are FSH, LH, and TSH. These are the glycoproteins, and they have the beta subunit. The alpha subunit is the same. The beta subunit is a little bit different. Now the somatomamotropin hormones are prolactin and growth hormone. These are came from the same cytokine family. And lastly, ACTH. ACTH is released together with other proteins. ACTH is derived from the propio-melanocortin hormone. Propio, there is the derivative beta endorphin and beta lipoprotein. M is for melanocytes. From this big protein also comes the melanocyte stimulating hormone that we all know that ACTH and MSH are secreted together. And this C is for corticotropin. The ACTH is called corticotropin and stimulates the adrenal glands. Now the regulation of these hormones, we have prolactin is going to be regulated by TRH and dopamine. TRH is thyrotropin releasing hormone. This is produced in the hypothalamus. TRH, TRH stimulates the TSH, but also stimulates prolactin. So if a patient has tertiary hyperthyroidism, we also have increased prolactin, and so we have amenorrhea. If a patient has primary hyperthyroidism, in which T4 and T3 are elevated, TRH will be decreased and TSH will be decreased. Because TRH is decreased, prolactin will be decreased, and so the patient will have a lot of menstrual cycles. If the patient has hypothyroidism, the TRH will be elevated, also TSH, but the important thing is that prolactin will be elevated, and so the patient has amenorrhea when the patient has hypothyroidism. The dopamine inhibits prolactin. The dopamine is produced in the arcuate nucleus of the hypothalamus. The dopamine goes into the pituitary stalk and inhibits prolactin. If there is a tumor or something that disrupts the pituitary stalk, blocks the dopamine arriving to the lactotrophs, that are the cells that produce prolactin, and so there is no prolactin inhibition, and so the patient can have galactorrhea. Now the growth hormone is stimulated by the growth hormone releasing hormone in the hypothalamus, and is inhibited by somatostatin. Also, the TSH is inhibited by somatostatin, also called growth hormone inhibitory hormone. The FSH and LH are stimulated by the gonadotropin releasing hormones, because these two are called gonadotropin hormones. And what else? The MSH and ACTH will be stimulated by the CRH, corticotropin releasing hormone. In the next video, we're going to talk about the posterior pituitary and the difference and all that, and maybe a little bit about the nucleus of these cells. Here, just remember that acidophils contains growth hormone and prolactin, so contains the somatotrophs and lactotrophs. The basophils contain the gonadotrophs, the thyrotrophs, and the corticotrophs. The acidophilic and basophilic cells are those that produce the hormones of the anterior pituitary. We have glycoproteins, somatotropins, somatomammotropins, and ACTH. The somatomammotropins are growth hormone and prolactin, and the glycoproteins are FSH, LH, and TSH.